Blessings and greetings. This is Yawanawa with the Entheogenic Roots podcast. And we are elated and just beyond blessed on this auspicious day to be here in Atlanta. Had a beautiful time, a portal that we were just moving through. It's a day of a lovely eclipse, lunar eclipse. We just came through a lovely weekend of the equinox. The whole crew, the Golden Embryo crew is here. I got my sons with me. We just all had a lovely time just activating and upgrading our energies and our intentions and, you know, the purpose of our existence here. And we are blessed, beyond blessed, to have the presence of Mother Jaguar, who is central here in Georgia, been doing some amazing works. And we're just gonna have a nice conversation and open up the way for everybody to understand what we're doing within this community of the entheogenic Black diaspora culture. Centralizing the voices of BIPOC individuals and those of us who have been on this path of the entheogenic of the way, utilizing plant medicines and going deep in this way for many, many years. And we're going to talk about how it's been just influential in our lives and what it has brought us, with the gifts and the gems that it offers, and what we're doing to just pave the path for the the future to come for those who are behind us. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to let Mother Jaguar introduce herself and share with us. I want to thank you for being here and
absolutely,
offering your presence.
Yeah, so happy to be here. This feels amazing to be sitting in your energy after ceremony this weekend.
Yeah.
So Mother Jaguar-Raneshahu. Raneshahu is a name that Mother Washi gave to me in Brazil at Maua Yushin, and it means the mother of, or the queen of Pachamama, and mother of wisdom.
So fitting.
Yeah, I wasn't quite ready to, stand in those shoes just yet.
It's a big title.
It is a big title, and after this weekend, it just feels like it's so fitting now to kind of like Mother Jaguar is becoming background and Raneshahu is coming forward. And I know in order to walk into those shoes, there's a deeper way of loving myself that I have to start to activate, which is starting with my body, making sure that I'm really loving this vessel and honoring this vessel in order to move me forward into this light body presence that I need to have. And so it is very fitting for Raneshahu, the right relationship with Pachamama.
Yes.
And actually calling to her to reveal the mysteries to me, to help me to transform my body and my life and my mind. So, yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
Tell us what initiated you on this path and how did you become involved and interested in plant medicines?
Well, initially I wasn't interested in plant medicines at all. I was as green as they came. I never smoked marijuana or any of those things up until like after my 30s. And after being married and having 5 children, I think the culmination of being a mother and not knowing if I'm a good mother and all of these doubts that came into my mind about what I was doing, if I'm doing it right, and a lot of decisions that I made that caused some really heavy circumstances, and how to take care of my children. I just felt like a misfit. And so I realized that, I'm doing something wrong here. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to resemble, not causing or not trying to say that my family didn't know what to do. It was all divine. But I just didn't want to resemble a superficial life. I didn't want to walk superficially. I wanted to find some type of authentic way to navigate motherhood. And for the most part, at 33, I was doing it all wrong, And so I decided that, I didn't decide. There was this feeling of despair that came over me that felt like I couldn't do anything right. Not a mother, you know, not a friend or anything, just making decisions in life. I was afraid to make those decisions. So I was like, I don't need to be here anymore. You know, I'm not, you know, worth, my body, my breath is not worth being here. I'm not doing the right things. I'm not a great human being. You know, all of these things, you know, it's just so woe is me energy.
Disparity, yeah.
Very deep, deep despair. And I didn't want to be here on this earth plane anymore. Felt like people could do it better than I was doing it. And I wanted to relinquish any responsibility that I had to someone else. And so I decided that, you know, I was going to plan my exit. And planning my exit was taking a whole bunch of pain pills, which was Percocets. I think I took like over 25 of them.
Wow.
And I planned this out through like maybe a whole year. Like I was taking, my mom had the gout at the time, and so she was getting a regular supply of Percocets, and I would take one or two, put it into my arsenal.
Wow.
You know, and I'm planning it out. I'm even making these scrapbooks for each of my children, just putting together memories for them so they didn't think that, you know, I didn't love them, and just wanted them to understand something about, you know, their mother before I left. So I put all this together and decided that I was going to rent a hotel. And I even had an alarm to go off, or I scheduled this text to go to my husband at the time so he would know where to find me. And I took these Percocets. It was like late in September 2008. And got this hotel and went in there. And I think I had a little trepidation. I didn't do it immediately. It took me about maybe 6 hours of sitting in the hotel, crying, trying to figure out if I really wanted to do it or not. And then these ideas or these thoughts started coming into my brain, you know, that I would always call the energy of the shadow.
Right.
That comes in and kind of confirms everything that you've been feeling about yourself. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this thing. Took 25 Percocets, laid down in the bed on my back, and I started to feel like maybe after 20 minutes, the onset of the Percocets, my body started getting hot and my heart started beating really fast. And then just going through the process of like trembling. I was doing a lot of shaking and trembling, like within like maybe 1 or 2 minutes, just tremble. And then I could start to feel something shift, which I thought it would be, you know, this is what death is starting to feel like, is that my organs are shutting down, everything started slowing down. And my eyesight started changing, where things wasn't in focus anymore. And so I just closed my eyes and just went into it. And the last thing I felt was these warm tears coming down the sides of my eye, my face. And I just remember just going deeply into this energy of rest, like really peaceful rest. Now, I didn't have anything in between. Like everybody would, you know, some people would ask, well, did you see anything, you know, when you went into that place? No, it was complete void. It was complete silence. There wasn't anything there, you know, just my consciousness was existing. And then I heard something like a bird chirping. And I woke up at 7:30 in the morning, like nothing happened.
What?
Like I had no, like, it was like I never even took the pills.
We're talking 25 Percocet.
We're talking 25 Percocet, yes.
That is...
I didn't have a purge.
It's miraculous.
Right.
It's a miraculous event.
It
took
was.
place, yeah.
But even in that, I was upset. I was angry.
Right? Yeah, you were trying to self-euthanize yourself.
Yeah.
And then here you are, you're still here.
Yeah, I woke up and was like, wait, I'm still here?
Right.
Am I, you know, I was able to pick up my cell phone And what's interesting is that I had the cell phone set at 8 o'clock in the morning to send a message. I woke up just in time to stop that message. Just in time to stop the message. Because it was going to go out to my husband to come and find me.
Yeah.
But I stopped it. But then I start to have this conversation with, during this time, my concept of God was very flawed too. God was the Baptist version, church, God sitting in the sky type version. And so I started to call out, I don't know if you hear me, I don't know who you are, but I don't want to be here anymore. I'm tired. I'm really, really tired. I'm making all the wrong decisions for myself. I'm no good as a mother. My children, I don't deserve these children. They deserve somebody else that loves to take care of them and that want to be present with them. Why am I here? And just having these conversations, like I'm talking out loud in the hotel room, like, who are you? I need help. Yeah. And it was only until I think I started saying these very specific words that actually activated something. And I was crying and sobbing in the bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror. And I was like, I don't want to be here unless you give me like specific instructions on how to be this person. From now on, when people see me, I want them to see you. When people hear me, I want them to hear you. Whoever this Catherine is, please put her in the background. Because I can't do this without you. And when I said that, something just erupted inside of me. The only thing I could call it was like just bliss, just total bliss, and an understanding of some sort, or understanding of some sort that happened. And some people may call it the kundalini, I didn't know what that word was back then, but I definitely feel like that moment was happening.
It was an awakening.
It was an awakening. And my whole body was flooded with just pure, divine, juicy, delicious love. And in a way that it got rid of every doubt. It got rid of every judgment. It got rid of everything I thought that I was doing wrong, and it made all those little things very tiny. That's nothing compared to the love that I feel for you right now. And this is all I kept feeling, is that this presence, whatever this presence was, this intelligence was it was no longer outside of me. It was talking to me within me. And even though I couldn't really make out like the voice didn't sound like a male, or like it was a voice. It was almost like the feeling of information that translated into words for me. And I'm having this conversation, feeling the unconditional love of the divine, and went into this deep sob of just thankful that I could even feel that presence, but also hysterical, like I'm giggling, at the sheer fact that this could even happen. Right. And I'm sitting here in the hotel room by myself, like this could really happen? Is this the Holy Ghost? What is this? Like
I can feel that presence right now.
Yes.
Like it's here.
Yes.
We were talking earlier about, the experience of the dark night of the soul. You brought it up to the group, and it's been a kind of a theme of the conversation. Would you say that was a dark night of the soul for you in that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because I went through, this process is pretty well documented. So the dark night of the soul that was literated by St. John of the Cross. There's an audiobook on YouTube that anybody can listen to, but he describes his interaction with God and how he had an awakening, and then, through a certain period of time, he was dwelling with the presence of God, and then all of a sudden, God left. Or so he thought. It's what it felt like, God left.
Yeah.
I went through the same thing, and you start wondering, like, what did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? But I went through that process overnight of every night being woken up by the Spirit of God to talk, to have conversations.
Wow.
Like real deep, whatever I wanted to know, whatever I wanted to talk to. You know, every night between 2 and 3 in the morning, I'm having these conversations.
Amazing.
It was mind-blowing.
And how long ago was this?
This was at my 33rd. So I turned 33. This was 2008.
Okay.
2008 when this happened. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how has your life been shaped since those experiences and those moments? Like, what led it towards the actual path of the entheogenic culture?
Oh, well, it stripped me of a lot of indoctrination. I would say that I started learning what discernment was really, really quickly. Because you have to remember that I'm being groomed in a way by God to understand the personality and the character of God. And what we've been taught by some other religions is not really the character that I was being introduced to.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm going back over, like, you know, readings like the Torah, I'm reading the Bible, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching, all of these books because I'm trying to find that character.
Yeah.
And also wondering, like, okay, so if the God that people think they're worshiping is this God that is wrathful, you know, jealous, you know, and all these things that you hear that you should fear God in this way. Who am I meeting right now?
Right.
Because I don't feel any of that. I feel like there's been such a representation of who God is, and that God is just bubbly with love all over you and just loves you so deeply,
Right.
you know, and so accurately that, you know, you just want to turn your whole life over to God, you know, because you know that God is just so much bigger than everything people think they know.
Yeah.
But also being naked, you know, like really, unclothing yourself. Like you realize you know, we're different beings when we know somebody is watching us.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Completely.
You know, like our character will change. You know, if you know that God is watching you, everything that you do, everything that you say, then you're going to be a different person because of that. You know? So I feel like a lot of the experiences I went through taught me a lot of discernment. It taught me to know the difference between certain words. I started being very careful about what I spoke. Some of the words that I was saying or conversations that I was having was empty. And so I was a very talkative person before, but after this experience, I wanted to be clear.
Yeah.
I was scared to say certain things because it was just like, I don't want to lie about anything no more.
Right.
But I don't want to startle people, you know, about this new place that I'm in, you know, because I know my whole family was wondering, like, what's going on with her? You know, I was so still, so still, so present.
Yeah, the true essence of mindfulness.
The true essence of mindfulness.
Yeah, the presence of mind.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Ashe.
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 It's kind of hard to be present in this conversation when the presence is so powerful.
It's so strong.
I feel like going into a meditative trance right now.
Yeah, it makes you want to just be with it.
Exactly, just to be with it, to be enveloped in it.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I don't know how this interview is going to go today.
Yeah.
Because this morning I just felt like I wanted to be alone in the presence of God.
Yeah. But I like to explore this, you know. I like to allow the spirit to move and to guide and orchestrate the way this goes, because, you know, my production company, Gold Embryo Productions, our tagline is Non-Performative Conscious Media.
Yes.
And so we're not here to perform. We're not here to,
No.
put on a particular mask and
No.
act like we're, you see other podcasts and things out there where it's all about the show. But what I want to do and what my intention is to bring the true authentic essence of our humanity into these conversations.
Yeah.
And to let people know and see that we're here. We're doing this work. We got our feet 10 toes on the ground.
Yes.
And we were talking earlier about how Atlanta being that spot, that hot spot of where there's a lot of spirituality that's just, being inspired and people aspiring towards, it's bubbling up. Everybody's here and it's kind of a mecca.
It is.
For that, I've heard it being called Wakanda, Atlantis.
Yes.
A place where people can come and really feel. I visited here back in 2008
Really?
for my first time. And when I grew up, or where I grew up, I was in Long Beach. And I got into entheogens back when I was like 15. And I was always the only melanated brother that was involved in this culture. And it became a thing where I would be in circles where I was just the only one. And I felt tokenism along the way, some, fetishization going on along the way.
Yeah.
But when I came to Atlanta, I was like, yo, there's more people out here like me? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
This is happening? And I felt very inspired and I just always remember that impression was strong.
Yeah.
And just over the weekend, it was beautiful to be in a circle of mostly all melanated people partaking. And so it's taken this long. I've been sitting back and waiting for it to happen, to come to this point. And so this is beautiful that we're here and we get a chance to share this together. And, this is a monumental time of, life and
That it is.
in the era of that, that we're in.
In the year of the dragon, no doubt.
The year of the dragon.
Yeah.
And I'm a fire dragon.
Me too.
Look at that.
Yeah. 76.
Okay, yeah, 76.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder.
Yes.
No wonder that
Yeah,
energy
we
is
recognize each other.
so potent.
Yeah.
So potent.
I told everybody that when everybody was like, "Who's joking?" I was like, "That's my brother." I said, "I've not met him in the flesh, but I recognized you from day one."
Yeah, I know.
And we can do that. Like I've been doing that for a while. There's people that I can pick out of a crowd and just know.
Yeah, we met like online about 2019, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And it was immediately like, oh, boom, that's my sis right there.
Yeah. And you can just know it.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
We're to walk shoulder to shoulder on the path
Absolutely.
and to fulfill destiny. And so it's come, and here we are. Let's talk
That
about.
just gave me goosies to fulfill
Yeah.
destiny.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what's happening. So let's talk more just about what brought you to the medicine.
Well, and I think the beauty of this is that I found my awakening before the medicine.
Okay, yeah.
And during those 40, nights, which was 40 nights, that was all of this stuff was prophetic for me.
Amazing.
All of it brought me back to what, prophets and, ascended masters would be doing. And, but all of it just really means your relationship with God. Every prophet or every person that wanted to know God fully, had to build a relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so these 40 nights were there was a lot of growth involved in that and a lot of knowing that, what I started seeing is that during this process of sitting up with God and talking to God every night, every day after that, I was more confident in who I was and feeling seen, feeling loved. Love can change a being from the inside out. Like being thoroughly loved by someone or by God, like it can change you from the inside out. And I was walking around differently, talking to people differently, hearing differently. All of my senses were online. And I remember feeling so overjoyed that I could even have this experience in the midst of so many people who felt lost like I was before. And I said during one of my night talks with God, I was like, so I want to be of service in some way. I feel like I owe you a debt, my gratitude of something that I need to give to you. And God kind of put a pause on it. God was like, okay, but what do you want? And I wanted to answer, like, you mean, what do I want in life? Like, what do I want? Like, what do you want? And I said, I don't know. I thought I knew what I wanted, but now after all this has happened, I have to reevaluate what I really want.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I come back to this, question later? God was like, yes. So I came back like maybe another night or so, to talk to God about what I wanted. And I said, I know what I want now. And I was like, what do you want? And I was like, well, I want you to help me carve out a life that I can be more fully present with you. I need to simplify my life. I need a life that I can manage. Right now, my life is chaos. I have 5 children. We have heaps of clothes everywhere. I'm not organized, any of those things. I just need help with organizing my life where I have more time to spend with you. God was like delighted in that. And I was like, will that make you happy? That would make me happy. I was like, I want to spend the rest of my time getting to know you and being with you. I love you. I want to be with you. So I started calling, the name of God started shifting into the beloved. Like, my beloved. And it felt like every morning was a waking up to God, like kissing me all over my face. Good morning. Every step that I was taking was with God, every moment, every second. And so God came back and was like, so this thing that you want to do for me, I want you to speak about me. It's like, speak? Like, go speak in places? Like, I was like, yeah. But God, I'm not much of a speaker. I don't know how I'm going to do. I'm very shy. I was like, well, I want you to speak. I think you could do it. And I said, where do you want me to speak? At your mom's church. What? My mama's Baptist church? You want me to speak at my mama's church? Okay. All right. If that's what you want me to do, I'll do it. What would I speak about? And I was like, you'll know when it's time. It's like, okay. And I remember being charged up, like ready to go. Called my mama, was like, I need to come speak to your church. My mama was like, wait, what? Like, yeah, what do you suggest I do? Do I need to call the pastor? And she's like, you're serious. I was like, I'm serious.
Wow.
She said, what do you want to speak about? I said, God. And she was like, okay. She was very confused by how this came about all of a sudden. And she's like, let me give you Pastor Soul's number. And she gave me his number. I called him. And I said, I'm calling to ask for permission to speak at the church. And he said, okay. He laughed a little bit. And he said, what do you want to speak about? I said, God. I said, I kind of have a testimony. I said, even though God told me, I'm telling him the bone truth. God told me that I'll know when I know.
Yeah.
But, talking to a pastor is like, you want me to let you come speak in my church and you don't even know what you're going to speak about?
Yeah.
I was like, well, and then I had to bring him back to trusting God himself. So I said, so when God gives you something to do you, wait, or do you try to figure out like how, or do you just do it?
Yeah.
I said, so when God calls you to do things, you have to do it. And I said, so, please don't, disregard that God can talk to me too. And he's like, no, sister, it's not that. He's just, you have so many people. I just need to know like who you are and why you want to speak. And I said, I'm sister. My mother is Yvonne, Jacobs, and I'm her daughter. He was like, oh, you're Yvonne's daughter. I said, yeah. I said, I'm sorry, I should have told you that before. He said, absolutely, you can come. Okay. You can speak. He said, matter of fact, the time that you could speak is when we usually ask people to come up that want to turn their life over to Jesus. And I was like, okay.
Give testimony.
Right. I said, I can give a testimony. And so this is the very first time I've ever spoken to a crowd, period.
Wow.
Never done it before, ever.
This is some years after the awakening.
This was the same year.
Oh, the same year. Okay.
This was the same year. This was like right after my awakening. This is within the 40-day time of sitting with God.
Wow.
So
Okay.
everything was very new, fresh
Yeah.
for me. But I'm on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like on so much fire of wanting to carry out whatever orders God gave me. And I'm doing it in such, a very aggressive, profound way, that everybody's just looking, trying to figure out like what's going on with me. But I get up there and I go speak. But before I spoke, there was a visiting pastor that was talking about solidarity with God. And it just, everything that he was saying in his sermon was just feeding me at that moment. And I could tell that God was inspiring me in that way to speak about our understanding of God. And so when it was time for me to get up there, I'm sitting on the pew, like on the edge of the pew, just waiting to get up there. And the pastor's wife comes to me and says, "Okay, you can come up and talk if you want," And so I get up there on the podium and I say to everybody, I want to talk about God today. Not like we haven't been talking about God before, but I want to give you a different perception of God. And I could tell everybody was holding on, like not sure where I'm going to go, with that. And I was like, God is not some voice in the sky, like this all-Father presence of, I am God. Like God is directly inside of you, in every one of your cells. Like there's an intelligence that is existing within you that is connected with God. And I was like, there's a voice that I think we all need to learn to listen to and to tune into. And the only way you can tune into that voice is by totally giving up the things you thought you knew about God, the things that you were taught. Like you have to empty your cup, per se.
You were saying this in church?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and everybody was just looking like, what is this? We're in a Baptist church, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I was also raised in a Baptist church, I know.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So they were listening, because I could tell that everybody was interested in my perception or my view of God. And I think they were resonating with it in a way, And I said, you have to be rebuilt and retaught the relationship with God, the character of God. Because the way that we have been taught, that is not the true representation of God. Everybody stands up in the church. I look at the pastor because I'm like, I hope I, didn't say anything, to make him feel away. Yeah. But when everybody stands up, everybody, hallelujah, that's part of Baptist, hallelujah. And I said another thing, I was like this. I said, we have totally disregarded the earth as a gift from God. I said, almost see it as, I said, if you can see this earth as a present that God gave us. It's almost like a mother and a father preparing for the birth of their child. I said, what does a mother and father do? You go and buy all the things you need to make sure the baby's comfortable. You go get the plug-in thing so when the baby starts to crawl that you cover all the sockets so you can create a safety net. Yeah. You start painting the walls in the colors that you think the baby would enjoy. That, you start putting all these little stuffed animals in the room to give, the room some beauty and all of these things. I said, God did the same thing with the birds, the trees, flowers, everything. We have everything entertaining us, everything loving on us at the same time. Yeah. When we wake up in the morning, the birds are chirping, to us. They're singing to us. This whole planet was made for you. Yeah. And you were made in the likeness of God. Everybody stands up.
They can feel it.
They can feel it.
Beautiful. I love how you mentioned, God being your beloved. Mm-hmm. On the way up to the ceremony, I was talking to my son Malachi. He was in the front seat. And he's been going through some things with a previous relationship. And I related to him a story. Don't know if you heard about Lalita, an Indian saint from India who did the same thing. She decided after her awakening to make God her own beloved. I told him, I said, you can actually have God as your beloved. God can be your partner. You don't have to try to seek that in anybody else, especially at this time of life. You need to learn to create that intimacy with God, the beloved.
First.
You know?
Yes.
So it's, I think it's serendipitous that you mentioned that we were going to be with you in that time, in that pilgrimage up there. And so it's perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so divine.
Yeah, and you embody it so well.
Because I think for us to truly create a beautiful relationship with others, we have to create a relationship with God first and ourselves. Like God is the teacher of relationship with ourselves.
Exactly.
But it's so interesting to have such an intimacy with something that you can't see, you know. But I felt it every day, every moment. Like it was no way that I could doubt it. Yeah. And that relationship really helped me to embody that unconditional love. So when I see people and I'm working with people, I know it probably feels weird that somebody can accept you and love you in that way. Yeah. You know, without any conditions. Right. But that's how God loves us.
That's God.
Yeah.
God is here.
Yes, absolutely.
So was it your first and last time speaking, or did you get invited to speak again?
Well, I kind of shied away from it, you know. I shied away from it. I know that was the first thing that God wanted me to do, but also it was one of my assignments that I was just speaking with Harry about. I was like, I want you to help me to start to talk more, maybe, because I am shy. I am shy, but
I get it. Me too.
You know.
Totally.
But there's something that comes over me whenever I'm talking about God. It kind of breaks me out of that shyness. So I know I can step through it. It's just maybe needing the support to push me in that direction to speak, because I think so many people need to know that God is existing in all of us.
True.
And all I have to do is just ask. You know, it's as simple as that. It's all you have to do is just say, God, you know, I want your presence in my life. Can you help me? That's it.
Beautiful, simple reminder.
Just a simple reminder.
Yes.
And then ayahuasca comes on. So the segue.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
So when I said God, I was like, you know, I was making a joke because God is also comical. Like we had some funny times at night. You know, talking about things. And I was like, God, I said, I wish we could take what you're doing to me right now and put it in a bottle and pour it down everybody's throats. I said that.
Wow.
And then a month later, here comes ayahuasca.
Wow. And how was that introduced to you?
I was at a party. I was at a birthday party for a sister here in Atlanta. And a person that I didn't know that well was there and had just came back from Peru working with a shaman. And I was just kind of ear hustling, you know, and I heard why she wanted to do it, which was sexual abuse, and how it changed her life, and how, you know, she's forgiven herself, and how this medicine has given her like all this therapy around her childhood, and she was able to release so much bitterness and, you know, resentment. And I was like, that sounds like something I need, you know, because at that time I was still trying to navigate having a relationship with my mother. I too have been sexually abused. So I had a lot of resentment towards, you know, adults during that age. Yeah. You know, of not keeping me safe.
Yeah, understandably.
You know, and not sure if I could trust adults. And so I wanted to heal. My mother was getting older, and I'm an only child, so I wanted to try to find a way to heal my relationship with my mother. I knew that was very vital to my walk. My relationship with my mom needed to shift, or the way that I looked at my mom needed to shift. And so I set out to heal that. And so when the young lady was talking about it, I waited until I got a moment, and I said, I heard you talking about this stuff that you drank, this tea. I said, I think I've seen something on YouTube about it. Like it was popping up in my feed during that time or somewhere. And she's like, yeah. She was like, the shaman is here. I was like, where? In Atlanta. How is that possible? She was, if you want to sit with him, you can sit with him this weekend. Really?
Wow.
Give me the information. And so as quickly as that came into my life, I was able to execute that.
Yes, lightning speed right there.
Yes. And so this is where I found that there's no mistakes and no coincidences, period.
Right.
Period. Everything was aligned the way that it was supposed to be aligned. And sitting in that ceremony with the shaman, of course it was an all-white space. I was probably the only black person there. There was an Asian woman there. That was the only black person there. And the shaman was from Peru. He's a Shipibo shaman. And the first night I took the medicine, I realized that it was very similar to my awakening.
Right.
I'm like, wow, so people are experiencing awakenings on this medicine, or they can? You know, it was the same feeling, the invitation of unconditional love.
Yeah.
The intelligence of the medicine really acted the same way as,
amazing.
You know, and I'm like, oh, this is good. And then I hear, this is the medicine people need to become the medicine for the world. It's like, okay, let's do this. So my very first night was just simply listening and charting out the similarities between my awakening and this medicine, and seeing this as being a tool for those that may not be able to get to where I got to.
Right.
You know, or maybe not go the way that I went to find this awakening. You know, I don't want anybody to have to go through a near death in order to find an awakening. But I found this is a really important tool to get people there to that space, to at least initiate a relationship, and to get into a place of knowing, instead of believing. Like,
yeah, it's an access point.
Yes, it's an access point.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what was the experience like for you on an emotional and psychological level?
It was very emotional, just because I can find myself just thinking about my experience and just, tears come of gratitude. And so I'm sitting in the ceremony realizing that it's striking up that same emotion. And so I'm the first one to cry in the ceremony, and this is what the shaman comes up to me and thanks me for crying. Thank you for crying. And it wasn't like I was just simply, weeping, And he comes up to me and, thanks me for crying. He said, it's a blessing for a woman to be the first one to cry in the ceremony. It opens up the heart for everybody. You give everybody permission to feel.
Amazing.
So I was like, okay, well, I guess you're welcome, But for all 3 days, we did ayahuasca 3 nights.
Okay.
I cried all 3 nights.
Amazing.
Just cried, really soft weeping and crying.
Is this the shaman that you went eventually down to the jungles with, or?
No.
Okay.
So I don't know if I could say that, but he comes here a lot.
Okay.
He travels here a lot. They have a group here, which is mostly white people.
Yeah.
But they come here a lot. But no, I knew that he wasn't. I loved his medicine and I loved his approach, but I think he was just really the gateway to leading me to a teacher. And I don't know if I knew I needed a teacher then. I just felt like I needed somebody closer to my frequency when it came to this medicine. Like, I wanted to know that they had a relationship with God.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if they had some understanding around their awakening, and because I knew that's what I was coming through. So this is when I got introduced to Yawanawa. In Brazil. So Brazil is my heart, my other heart.
Yeah.
I love Brazil. I love the Amazon of Brazil. I love Peru too, but it's something about something about the Amazon of Brazil that is very close to me.
Tell us about your first time visiting down there and how that all got integrated into your life.
Oh yeah. So my first time going was very interesting. That was a whole pilgrimage, which I don't think I was quite ready for, but I was ready. I didn't know it was going to take that long to get there.
How long did it take?
It's a 16 to 17 hour flight.
Whoa.
Broken up because I had to take like 3 flights.
Yeah.
And then once I got there, I had to stay overnight at a hotel. And then drive, which is Highway 354, I think. It is like the worst highway in Brazil to ever be on. It's got potholes everywhere. There's not a quiet ride in sight for the whole 6 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Just bump, 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 bump the whole time. And then you have to take like a 6-7 hour boat ride up the river. Yeah, in the sun.
It's a real pilgrimage.
Yeah, it's a pilgrimage. It's a beautiful pilgrimage. I think I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it at all. I think it really resonates when you get there. You realize that you made it.
Yeah.
You made it to the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And you did this for yourself. It's a very great initiation to start, a good pilgrimage to have. So, but when I got out there, I don't think I ever thought about like animals, the wild.
Right.
I never thought about that.
That's the jungle. That's where the wild is like alive and well.
Right. And here in America, all we know, like I said earlier, I was like, I've been introduced to lion, tigers, and bears. Like there's never thought about jaguars or monkeys and all these boas, and never thought about it.
What about the insects?
The insects are insane.
Right.
Even the what do you call it? The big ones, the big spiders.
Tarantulas?
Yes. I seen one as big as my hand crawling across my shahu.
Oh my goodness.
So I've seen all type of things out there. But one thing I know is that when you work with this medicine, you no longer become afraid, especially in the jungle. You're not afraid of any of the insects or the animals out there.
There's more of a feeling of oneness, right?
It's a feeling of oneness.
Yeah. They're relatives.
They're relatives, And I did have like a visit from 2 jaguars.
Remember you telling that story? Please share.
So the first night I'm there, where I was told that this is the night to rest. We won't be doing anything today. You had a long pilgrimage here. You're going to rest. So I got into my hammock and was ready to go to sleep. And I heard these sounds coming around, like the lights had turned off, like they only have like a generator that lasts till like maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night. After that, lights are off. No electricity, nowhere. You just have the moonlight that's coming up.
Right.
And so I hear these sounds, which I didn't associate with a jaguar before. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was maybe a gorilla or something. I didn't know what it was. But it was like a
yeah.
It's like, what is that? And I hear it coming closer, but I'm in my hammock and I'm just trying to stay still because I'm not sure, if it's close, but I just didn't want to alert anything. I don't want to get ate up, in the jungle. But then I see the head of it first. And the way the shahu is that the bottom of it is wood, but at the top is encased in like a screen. It's a screen going all the way around it, so you can see everything outside.
Yeah.
And I see this head coming, to the left. I couldn't quite make out what it was, but I hear it and I see it moving. And then I hear another one coming to the left of the shahu. So this one is on the right and the other one is coming to the left. And I hear them, and by this time, I know that it's a jaguar because I see the eyes that kind of like didn't look all the way into the shahu, but it turned and I seen the eyes, and all I could do was just kind of close myself up, in this hammock, because I'm like, I'm in here by myself. I don't,
That can be terrifying.
Who can I call?
Right.
But they just came and they just sat down in front of the shahu.
Amazing.
Just sat there. didn't disturb me, didn't do anything, but just sat there for the longest time. And then I heard one of the natives, I think it was Matanai, Mother Washi's son. You know, the way that they call out to each other is just like what, you know, that hooty-hoo, they do the same thing, ee-hoo, ee-hoo. Yeah. Like, they just let each other know that it's a jaguar in the mist.
Yeah.
And he was asking me, Katarina, to the bang, no, to the bang, please, come. And so he came up and chased them away, or he said something, screamed something, and he chased them away.
Yeah, scatter, huh?
But that morning, I was just wanting to know, like, is this a normal occurrence? Am I going to have to look forward to having that happen every night? And it's like, no, you're a different energy and presence in the jungle. Yeah. And it wanted to see who you were. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, all right, well, as long as it don't bother me, I won't bother it.
Is this where the name Mother Jaguar comes from?
Mother Jaguar comes from Haru Kuntanawa, before Mother Washi. Okay. It was a ceremony, so that name came from a ceremony we had where I had a lot of young people, probably between the ages of like maybe 25, 28. A lot of young women too, that were going through a lot of, well, I would say nursing their wounds of the mother wound. Okay. A lot of them had kind of the similar situation as me, is not really having good relationships with their mother. Mm-hmm. And during that ceremony, I spent a lot of intentional time with each of them, like sitting in front of them, you know, allowing myself to reflect with them, you know, for them to reflect within me. And a lot of them were crying. I was holding space for them at that moment, you know, looking them to their face, you know, drying their tears, and holding some of them in my lap, you know, just really mothering them at that moment. And so Haru comes up and he says, Kutsima. Kutsimai is Mother Jaguar.
Oh, beautiful.
And he said, that's your name, Mother Jaguar now.
Beautiful. That's amazing. So what was the process to you becoming a holder and a carrier of the nest?
He kicked me out of the nest. I organized for a lot of them before I started doing this work, and I was perfectly comfortable with doing that. Right. I felt like I wanted people to have access, you know, to this type of life that I have, and, you know, finding their own happiness and healing their own wounds. And so I organized for a lot of them and did tours with them to Colorado and Texas, and, you know, we moved around the states for a little while. And then one ceremony, and I remember the exact ceremony, it was a song that I had learned, which is a condor song. I think I did sing it Friday night, but it's the die 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 die, I dee 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 dee. Cheaty, 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 Sanangwe, Sanangwe. And so when he heard me sing that song, he stood up and kind of held his hands out like this. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, you have arrived. He's like, that's your song. He said, that's the condor song. He said, it's time. He's like, Katarina, please, it's time for you to step out. And I was like, even then, it took me, even if you told me that, it took me like almost 2 years to really do it. Yeah. Like, I just thought he was, you know, joshing me at that time. I was like, no, this is not my lane. This is your lane.
Right.
You do this best. Yeah. You know, I don't know all of the songs that you know, and, you know, I don't know if I could hold a space like that. And it got to the point to where he told me he wasn't coming back. Oh. He said, he even announced to the group that we had that night, he said, from now on, Mother Jaguar is going to be serving you medicine. And I just kind of looked at him like, you didn't give me that memo that you were going to say this to everybody, you know? And he said, we won't be coming back here anymore. Oh, wow. We welcome you to the forest with Mother Jaguar, but Mother Jaguar is going to be serving. Wow. And I still didn't do it for like 2 years.
Took some time, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to get ready for. It's a pre-integration process.
Yeah. I just did not believe that was something I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
you know, and one night I talked to him and he said, if you don't believe that you're supposed to do this, then you sit with the medicine yourself and you ask. And I said, okay, I'll do that.
Beautiful.
And so that night I sat with the medicine.
Good.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, we're happy that you've actually taken up that beautiful charge and that you've been sharing and guiding many people, guiding the way.
It's a beautiful
It's
life.
needed, yeah.
Yeah.
It's needed. Earlier you talked about how, the medicine said it's gonna empower the medicine in each of us.
Yes.
And make us the medicine.
Yes.
And where we're from on the West Coast, things have become legalized, and we have the decriminalization taking place in even Colorado and all the way to Oregon, some parts of California, Oakland. And even in Oregon, there's a bill where they've allowed legalization as well.
Wow.
And with that, we're seeing a lot of clinical colonization come in, pharmaceutical companies and white coats thinking that they can synthesize, the medicine and make pills and all these things. And then we have the colonizing capitalist with a lot of money, deep pockets, and they're, just trying to capitalize like they did back in the day when they allowed the studies to take place, funded and headed by the CIA in the 60s, when Richard Alpert and Timothy Leary and the other guy, Ken Kesey, was out doing the acid test. And people think that's when the psychedelic revolution or renaissance started.
Right.
And my mission with this particular podcast and the documentary that we're filming as well is to highlight the reality that psychedelia or the psychedelic culture didn't begin in that time. That's just when the white coats and, the white male, the dominant so-called authority, put a stamp of approval on it and says, okay, now we can. I can see them doing that nowadays too. It's the same type of thing. We got the Michael Pollins out there, the Paul Stamens out there, and these cats, and they're like, they have a lot of merit to what they're doing, what they're offering. But I like to always try to bring the conversation back and the focus. So this has been an indigenous thing for thousands of years.
And we can't cut them out.
Yeah, this has been a melanated space for thousands of years.
Yes.
And where is our voice? Where is the conversation of even seeking guidance and counsel on how to move in this space? Because as we know, it helps with healing traumas and many different things that have been stuck in the psyche, and it causes a revolution of the consciousness.
Yes.
It can, spur that awakening. Yet, they're kind of leaving out the story of, the indigenous. I mean, we hear them sprinkling it in here and there, but there's not much depth there.
Yeah. They should be allowing them to steward this so-called Renaissance.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me, to see this happening all over again,
Right.
Because it's been a cycle of you find this new shiny bright toy, and then you want to bring it into your world, but disconnect it from where it originated.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
And what is that climate like out here? What are they talking about when it comes to the laws and policies?
Well, so Georgia, we're in the Bible Belt. Georgia probably, although I wish it would be a lot sooner. I know decriminalization is more possible than legalization. Okay. Lately, there's been talks about different counties opening up, like DeKalb County.
Okay.
I think even up in Tucker, in Norcross. But, what we were told by, the police chiefs and stuff like that, those people were saying they're not really looking, to bust people with this medicine unless there's some type of, what do you call it? If you're pushing it,
right?
Like if you're a dealer,
right?
Then maybe they're looking for you. But as far as ceremonies go, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not looking for that.
That's leaning in the good direction at least.
Right, that is a good direction.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that maybe in the future that they will, totally legalize this medicine. I don't think it will happen until we find a right relationship with it, though.
Right.
That's what I think, and I feel like it needs to be. The way that I work with Mother Washi is that everybody knows that she's my mentor.
Okay.
So if it's anything that you're wondering about me or wanting to know about me, or you can go directly to her. Like I never hide that.
Yeah.
And I don't proclaim to be a person out here to teach you how to be a shaman.
Right.
And I tell everybody that comes to me and wants to do whatever I do, oh, you have to go to the jungle.
Okay.
You have to go meet with my mother.
Yeah.
I can't give you those rights. That's something that I feel that you have to go on that journey to find. I can't give you that hat.
Yeah.
And I won't.
Right.
That hat,
Yeah, within my life, just on a personal level, it just transformed me to the core. Being raised in the most hostile environment in the 80s and 90s of Southern California.
Oh, wow.
Crack era, the explosion of AIDS, high incarceration rates. I didn't have a father growing up in the home. My mother raised 6 of us. I was the only boy. And so when I was given this medicine, it gave me my relationship to the divine, and showed me there is a heavenly father.
Yes.
I didn't have to have a physical father. I took heed by the lessons, and it just, it brought me to where I am today. This wouldn't be happening right now if that didn't take place back in those days.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, I was always the only, melanated young kid. And fast forwarding it to this present moment in time, this era that we see more people in this space, how are you seeing it transform? Do you think it can heal the hood?
Oh, yes. I'm seeing it.
Beautiful.
I have like a front row seat to it.
Right?
I do.
That's such a beautiful thing to me.
Especially when you have brothers that come into the space that speak like, I got 4, 5 of them over there. You got gold teeth and coming into my ceremony and becoming vulnerable with this medicine. And there was a brother that came in with his wife. Well, his wife started sitting with me first, and then she convinced him to come sit. And he had a beautiful night where he actually released a lot of emotion, a lot of pent-up emotion. And he ended up covering himself with the cover because he didn't want anybody to see him crying that deeply. And I went over to him, at that moment because I wanted him to know that I was holding space for him. And he cried even yet a little bit more deeper. And he grew up here in Atlanta. He's an Atlantean, in the hood. And after holding space for him, everybody in the ceremony was crying, just because I think it meant something to a lot of us to hear a man cry, especially the women there, to hear a man that vulnerable and cry that way.
Yeah.
Like everybody was crying. All of the women were in tears. And for him, the next morning, he was just saying how he's not the same. He said, I'm not the same anymore. It's like, of course, I'm from the hood, but there's just, I want to do more for my wife and my children now. I want to change our lives. Like, I want us to elevate in some way. And I don't know what that looks like, but I just know I want more for us than what we're living now. So I get to see people transform overnight.
That's so beautiful. Amazing.
It is beautiful. I'm in gratitude to see that, like our weekend, like the transformation was so huge that you get to see people from when they walked in the door.
Exactly.
And when they're leaving, they're different people.
Oh yeah.
I love sitting in that seat and seeing that. That's what keeps me doing it.
Nice. So let's talk about the Diaspora Ascending project.
So, Diaspora Ascending is a download that came to me maybe about, it was like 2019. And I've seen it as being a bridge back to our original ways. And in order to get to those original ways, we have to consult with the original peoples.
Yes.
And I wanted melanated people that have been disconnected from their heritage, from their cultures, from their traditions, to find, I want them to find diaspora ascending as being that gateway to lead them back home, in order to preserve all of these traditions for our children and our grandchildren, and just making sure that we don't lose that connection.
Yeah.
So diaspora ascending was to serve in that way. Even though I was given the download, I was giving like pieces of what to do next, you know. And the first thing I wanted to do was to build a relationship with these original peoples. And that meant that I had to go and travel, meet them, and build these relationships, which it has started now with Mother Washi. And then I want to go off. I have a Mother Germain that serves Iboga in the Congo. Okay. She'll be next.
Beautiful.
Where I'll be able to sit with her and just feel like I needed to really embody everything with Mother Washi first.
Yeah.
And then maybe sitting with some other indigenous people that work with different medicines and traditions of helping us cleanse like all of this indoctrinated program, colonized view sets in order to be rebirthed, you know, back into our divinity.
Right.
So that's what diaspora ascending is for.
That's amazing.
I love the idea of it. It's just, the vision of it is so wholesome.
You plan to have a central location that people can come to and gather in? And
I'm looking into that. A couple of years back, I really wanted to get out of Atlanta, you know, and I did a reading. I went to this Babalao and did a reading. And the Babalao in the reading said that I was not to leave this place. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
I can travel. I can, you know, buy a house in Brazil. I can buy a house wherever and travel, but this is central location. This is the home base.
Okay.
So I'm here. So I do want to build something here. My environment is definitely the mountain, you know, so I'm looking for like where we were for ceremony. I want something out there, something similar to that house as well, where it's by a creek, running water.
Lovely location.
Yes. So yes, someplace here, someplace where I can grow food, and have that there, take people through, you know, exercises of purifying their bodies. But I just need to have everything that, you know, that I can create a healthy environment for myself in that space and for people that will be coming.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I feel we can use this time right now. We got some, you know, about good 20 minutes left. Let's just unpack some of like more of a message, you know, for the people that are watching and that they can actually take and marinate in their consciousness with, around like the process of awakening, what it looks like, how it shows up in one's life, even the pros and the con aspects about it. It doesn't always have to be rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that people can look forward maybe to facing and dealing with, and how do they move through that? And also the cleansing and the purification of the light bodies that you've been talking about. I think it's very important that we bring this up and talk about these things and leave a message around this.
Yeah, I think there's, what I would like people to know is that there is a decision you have to make with yourself to really claim your life. And to be in total, to have responsibility over your being, you know, your sovereignty. Like there's a process of developing that, yes, but the end goal is to know that you have claimed your life. You see your life as precious and valuable. You see your life as a vessel of the divine, and you are willing to go through whatever initiation process that you have to go through in order to claim it. There's also these ideas or these downloads that come to me about how we will do this. we know that in this state, like right now, we're having a lot of issues with people not being able to come out of the indoctrination or the conditioning of what colonization has done to not just here. You know, it's happened in the jungle in Brazil too. They've gone through genocide out there. You know, there's a process happening of weeding out that wisdom. It's been happening for a while, where they want to get rid of the wisdom of these elders and the wisdom of those times. So we can see that playbook being taken, you know, that playbook being carried out all over the world.
Right.
It's the same playbook. They have the same blueprint, you know. So I think what is more important right now is that people find a simple way to manage their lives in order to allow this process to happen. Because if your life is full of chaos right now, then that means you haven't learned how to manage it.
Right.
You may have too much. So you might have to do a process of shedding to get rid of some things, to really be honest about what you can manage right now.
Yeah.
Because that's the foundation that you want to start at. And then being honest about what you can manage will lead to being honest about what you can allow and who you are and the energies that you're entertaining. You know, that process will start to take care of itself.
Right.
You know, but you have to start at the base level of yourself first. Instead of jumping out here too quick. You know, we have a lot of people that feel, you know, that they have to go, you know, running steam, you know, ahead to try to start this now.
Yeah, they get awakened and suddenly they think they're the shaman now.
Yeah, but you know, it is such a profound experience. I get it, but there's so much development, like you're a baby.
Yeah.
That needs to be.
You gotta crawl before you walk.
You gotta crawl before you walk, and you have to continue to develop your relationship.
Yeah.
You know, so I want people to really start to maybe ask the question, you know, just ask the question of the divine. You know, are you here with me? Can I get to know you more? You know, can you introduce yourself to me?
Yeah.
You know, so I can know the difference. And that starts you on the path. Starts you. That's really all you need to start. And then when you start asking God to guide you, then you'll be guided. Like none of this, everything that I've been doing, I've been guided to. Like it's never been something that has been outside of my, you know, or egotistical, like I wanted to try this thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's so outside of my wheelhouse of being, you know, in corporate America for years, you know, mother to 5 children, that it's almost astonishing to me that I'm sitting here in this way, in this capacity right now.
I get that.
You know, but I believe this is where we all, you know, are going to end up at some point if we stay the course.
Yeah. It's like coming back home.
It's coming back home.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
I feel that. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And I want it for everybody. I want everybody to feel that. Like it's such a comforting knowing that you have a home and, you know, the love that you may not be experiencing outside of you is happening right inside of you. Your heart is beating. Your lungs are filling up with air and oxygen.
Yes.
All of these things happen, you know, for the love of who we are. So
It's as natural as breathing and just being in the body. It's so beautiful. I want to thank you so much for sharing these beautiful stories and sharing your wisdom and sharing your love. You embody it so well. The world needs you, and I feel very honored to have this blessing. It's been an auspicious interview. I don't call them interviews. It's an interview.
Interview.
Yeah, an interview into the being, you know, the essence. And before, I would love to invite you to play some music for us and to share some songs. But before that, please feel free to let people know how we can find you and be in touch. and all those things?
Well, so I'm actually limiting the amount of access
Okay,
now, but you can find me on Instagram as Mother Jaguar, Facebook as well.
Okay.
And if you would like to get in touch with me, you can email me at themotherjaguar@gmail.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. So blessed to be here.
It's a pure blessing. Let's segue to some music, huh? Yeah.
My name is Light. We arise upon the first light, rays of the sun.